Hello there. Last round, last episode, last 100 for the Springfield Hellcat Pro OSP comp. This is round 900 to 1000. 100 more rounds, 147 grain. So, a couple of things. Slide stop conversation. I don't know if we've had that before, but slingshot method, we'll talk about it in the outro. I just want to put that on your radar. The standard version of this firearm I want to also get through. I'll talk about that in the outro. Ammo. So I mentioned before about accuracy and the types of ammo that you use and if that's going to be accurate for, your firearm or whatever, any other firearms that you're using. So we can also discuss that, just think about it. And then negative feedback. So I've mentioned it before, but we can also touch base on that. So think about all of that jazz as we get into this. One quick clarification about the slide stop slingshot method. I like using, and I say I only use the slide stop to have the slide go forward. That is not necessarily true. I do like using it all the time, but there are instances where I have not done it and I would prefer to do it, but I haven't had the ability to, or I just chose to do something different where I use the slingshot method. So don't hold me on that, because I know some people are going to say, well, you said that you always use it and you don't. It's like, yeah, I always want to use it. So just that little clarifying piece. Okay, come for the outro. We'll talk about all that stuff. Last 100 rounds. This has been a great one. We'll see you in the outro. Enjoy. This video is intended for educational and informational purposes only. All firearm handling shown is performed by trained individuals in a controlled environment. Always follow the 4 rules of gun safety. Number 1, treat your firearm as if it is loaded. Number 2, never point a firearm at anything you do not intend to destroy. Number 3, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Number 4, be sure of your target and what's beyond it. Comply with all local, state, and federal laws regarding firearms. Do not attempt to replicate any action seen in this video without proper training and safety measures. The creators assume no liability for misuse or unsafe practices. Pew Review Series. Welcome you back to the Pew, here for the 1000 round review series of the Springfield Armory Hellcat Pro OSP comp. Round 1000, finishing up this bad boy today. Super happy with it. Very, 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 very good. Accuracy is off because of me. Shooting with the G-Code Paradigm holster. Blackhawk mag caddy, and 2 We the People holster mag pouches, along with 1 Tier 1 concealed mag caddy. Shooting today at a distance of the regular scheduled programming of 13.6, 22, and 16 respectively, with the Supervel 147 grain full metal jacket, Reloaded Ammo, local company. Thank you so much from them. Not sponsored. I had to buy it myself. Thank you so much for being here. If you've been with me for the entirety of this journey. Also, if you've been with me for quite some time now, you know the mannerisms and things that I do. And I just want to point that out because I had a comment on one of the videos back in the day of using the slingshot method as opposed to the slide stop method for racking a round into the chamber with the firearm. So just to give you an example and definition of what that means is slide stop is here, and when you press down the slide stop after rounds have been expended and the slide is locked back, you will then push have the slide, the spring, the guide rod, the spring, slide spring, push the slide forward into battery. also racking around. Now, if you have a magazine, of course, in there with a round in there. Now, the slingshot method is where you pull back on the slide and then have it go forward. Now, this goes forward only if and only if there is a round in the magazine or no magazine inserted. Otherwise, you will get no forward momentum. You have to pull back, push down on the slide stop, and then go forward. So in this case, you just pull back. My thumb's not on the slide stop, and it goes forward. Push up on it. Now, like I said, if you've watched me, I don't use the slingshot method. I only use a slide stop. Why? It's just less movement, less steps to rack around into the chamber. If I'm here, I'm using two hands to do what one hand can do on its own. It just seems a little counterintuitive to me. Now, there's some firearms that didn't rack around properly, even after you have the slide stop or the slingshot method move the slide forward. And I just wanted to clarify that today because it's come up, and I want to also start that discussion with a lot of you. And I'm doing it for multiple different videos because it's not always going to be the case where somebody sees what I'm talking about, or a short that I make, or even a video series that I produce. So I'm doing it for multiple different review series for pistols, firearms, to continue that conversation and pick up if anybody hasn't seen it already through me. So if you have seen it, just disregard it. We'll go straight into the review. But if you haven't seen it, let's get that started. Let's talk about it. For me, I've shot over 30,000 rounds, and I've always used the slide stop to rack around in. It should be an option, not a requirement. It's your personal preference what you want to do, and I don't think that for a mechanism like a pistol, and I gave the analogy of a truck, if I buy a 4x4 truck, it's not only 4x4, you could be able to go into 4x2. That's just what it is. And if you have a truck that you can switch from 4x2 to 4x4. If you buy the truck, 4x4 is the only mode that you can be in. That doesn't make any sense. Then what are you paying for the truck for that function? That doesn't compute. So anyway, thank you for being here. Let's get this going. We're going to do the finish out the 1,000 rounds, or with 100, and then we'll go from there. All right, so sorry to derail the conversation a little bit. Let's talk about the firearm. Firearm has been super amazing, awesome. Okay, I'm going to use the slide stop. Great grip, recoil is manageable. Sights are great also, if I can get it down to a science. Trigger is super good. I really like that trigger. The grip is amazing. Ergonomics are awesome. So I'm glad that it doesn't have a ambidextrous magazine release, and the slide stop is not ambidextrous, which is fine. That's not a negative. I don't necessarily prefer. It's nice to have, but it's not something that I wish every firearm would have. So this is a wonderful EDC. Highly recommend. Test it out for yourself because it works wonders. Yes. Slide stop. Let's do the humble tree. No. I don't know. There it is. There it is. At the bottom. There you go. Darn. Yeah, majority of the guns I always use. It's not even a question. It's just easier to do for me. Just makes sense, you know. For me, again, that's just my 2 cents. Oh no, my target's gonna fall. I put a rock underneath to brace it. I don't know why it's continuing to fall over. That's way low. Okay, stand by. Let me fix that target really fast. I don't want it to fall over. All right, finish this out. There it is. Shoots so good, so well. Nice 147 grain. It's good to go. Shoot at that small little target. Let's do one hand. Nope, I won't take that. Need to hit it. Nope. Come on, baby. Where are you? All right, 1,000. I don't think I had any problems, any misfeeds or failures to extract. I'll have to go back through and see, but 2 thumbs up. I'm happy. Happy, happy, happy. This is a great firearm. Springfield knocked it out of the park, just like with their Echelon. I'd like to try one that's not the pro version, also not comped. Sorry, yes, not comped. And see what that's like. Don't think it'll be too much different, but it'll have some nuances to it, I'm sure. But tell me your experience with your Springfield Hellcat. Haven't heard anything bad about them. Haven't heard anything to do with the slingshot versus slide stop method. That's also, yeah, definitely a discussion to have with the community. So let's get it going. Come on, let's start it up. Tell me about yours, and I'll tell you about mine. Stay tuned for the 1,000 round supercut, 1,000 round review coming up. Thank you so much for being here, supporting and contributing. All of it's great for me, and I really appreciate it. I couldn't have done it without any of you. And also, that feedback helps me, even if it's criticisms or something negative, it still helps me. And I will mention that in some of the other videos. Helps me to get out and convey my message to more people and yourselves as well, for clarification's sake. So, that being said, stay tuned for the outro. Make sure you aim for center mass, pick up your brass, wash your ass. Say hi to your mom for me. All right. Wow. Another 10 days, another 10 episodes. Another review going to be coming up soon. I did fairly well today. I felt pretty good about the shoot, but it's still just weird, and that brings to the conversation about the ammo. And if you have that specific ammo that you use, and then also have you gone to that level of granularity to look at and compare all these different ammunition manufacturers, excuse me. I don't know if I'm going to do that, because I'd have to do that with every single one of my firearms, including rifles and shotguns when it comes time, although I don't think that's going to matter too much with the accuracy with the shotguns, but we can discuss that in due time. But that seems like a little much. I'm just gonna do what I do. You know, the ammunition that I get is out of my pocket, so I'm not gonna buy thousands of rounds of ammunition for just each individual firearm to go through. That's going to be, and then also too, that sample size will have to be another 1,000 rounds or another 15 or whatever the case is. If I shoot 5 rounds of Fiocchi, 5 rounds of Federal, 5 rounds of Hornady, you know, I don't know if that's going to be a good enough test for, you know, let's say 10 yards, right? So it's all going to, you know, be contingent on the ammo that I use, the firearms that I shoot for the 1,000 rounds, and it will vary at times, but I'm always going to go with the common denominator which will be the firearm and myself, and that'll be it. So I'll have to cross those bridges when I get there. But let me know what you think, you know, if that's something that is interesting to you, or if you're going to go that deep into whether or not the accuracy of the firearm is for you, and you're going to go into that. I think it's too much. Even talking about this is a little much. So yeah, let me know what you think, because I do not think that's going to add any level or any value to the firearm. So slide stop, I don't know if we talked about it before, but you know, I like using the slide stop on each individual pistol to have the slide go forward. And now I know there's a lot of conversation about you're not supposed to do that when you don't have any magazine inserted with rounds in the chamber to go forward. You're supposed to, you know, use the slingshot method, which is pulling back on the slide and then letting it go forward. That's the slide stop method. I had to look that up because I didn't know. If I've talked about that before, I apologize. It's just something that I had mentioned because commenters had told me, because some of the firearms, not these ones, but when I use the slide stop, it doesn't go all the way into battery, and that was, you'll see that later on, because it's not any of these micro compact pistols that I carry, but it does happen, and it has happened. And so even when I try using the slingshot method, it doesn't go into battery. We'll cross that bridge again when we get there, but let me know what you think about that conversation, and also how you choose to do it. I know some of you have already answered this, we've already talked about it, but I'm just revisiting it again and putting it out there. So yeah, I don't say I'd never use the slingshot method, and I always use the slide stop, but most of the time that's what I want to use. So I'm going to get the standard version of the Hellcat Pro. It'll be the long grip, so I think the Pro is the long grip, and the OSP is the optics sight picture. I'm not sure, but I think that the OSP is the optics, and then of course comp is the ported. But I want to see the difference in recoil, so I've talked about it before. Just wanted to throw that out on the radar again. I won't be doing 1,000 rounds through that, because same thing with the Sig Sauer P365 with this comped version, which is a true comp version. It's not out to the barrel. I'll be getting another P365 X macro that's not comped, so then I can do that. Same thing with the Canik. Canik has the new Prime without the comped version. Shadow Systems CR920 XP does not, so that'll have to, you know, stand as it is. But all these firearms that I use and I shoot through, I do reviews on. I want to get the other versions. If I do have the ported or comped version, I want to get the standard one and do maybe 100 rounds, and then do a head-to-head with the ported or comped version. Just something to, just something to go through, so that we can all see the difference, and I can give my take of what I feel from the feedback. So speaking of feedback, negative feedback, I wanted to say, because I mentioned in the last part of the video, I do appreciate it because it helps me look at it from a different perspective. Now, it's not to say that you say my feet stink or my hair looks ugly or I've got a terrible voice. I'm looking at it from a different perspective because that's just personal preference. I don't mind that either. It is what it is. But when someone has actual negative feedback about something, I look at it from maybe where they're coming from, just to see a different perspective. I just want to clarify that about the negative feedback. It's not like I want everybody to say you suck, right? But it's just something that I think about, and we all should consider. It's your choice. I just choose to look at that in a positive light, if you can. Okay, that's enough. A lot of clarifying stuff. We're gonna get to the supercut and then the review coming out in a couple days. Thank you so much for being here. All the input. Although I think the SIG had more input, not the 365, but the 320 had a lot more input because of the controversy behind it. In any case, I know this will probably garner some more attention later on down the line, and we'll talk about it more at that time. But everybody that's been here, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Folks have no idea how much I appreciate you just coming in to check it out, and if you give feedback, even better. So like, subscribe, comment, recommend, all that jazz, not in that particular order. We'll see you at the supercut and review, and then on to the next. 照顾好自己，注意安全。